Okay, Paul.
Yeah, they had to do some.
Good evening, it's Monday, March 24th, 2025. This is the meeting of the Tilton Northfield Fire District Building Committee, and I'll call the meeting to order at 5:31. Those present: Tim, Kevin, Lisa, Dennis, Paul, the chief, and deputy chief. And while we have no agenda, I think the reason we're here is to do some preliminary review of the prints that Lorero sent. So I'll open the floor to any discussion.
So I guess I can start. After the new mandate came out from the fire commissioners, that was given to Lorero, and they wanted to start working on the plans. And the deputy and I met with them a couple times and gave them some basic parameters of what we needed to do. And they redid the space needs study from a one-station to a two-station thing. And they came out with an original set of plans, and both the deputy and I looked at it and says, no, that's not even close. So we told them some flow patterns that we kind of need to see. And then they came back with this. And so we thought it would be a good time for you guys to look at it. I know that the deputy and I have other changes that we would make, but I think we'd look here and see what you guys have to say.
Did they issue on the space needs, did they issue another spreadsheet like this one?
If they did, I don't have it with me.
Because this is what we were working on previously. You know, we had never seen prints of this detail.
Right.
So is that list no longer valid then?
That, yeah,
Yeah, the
this
first
is no
one
longer
is
valid.
no, yeah, because that was for
Excuse me.
one fire station solution, and this is
So
a.
they need to be broken out and some stuff redundant.
So there'll be two of those now?
Yeah.
There'll be one space needs study, but two stations. So there'll be
So
two.
something from there will be in one but not the other?
Yes.
Yes.
Can we back up 1 minute? Do we have the written directive from the commissioners?
I do right here.
Because I don't believe I have.
We don't have a written directive from the commissioners. What we do have is their approval of this recommendation.
And so that's their directive.
Correct.
Okay, then I do have a copy of that. I thought, when I was reading some meeting minutes, it talked about a directive, if that's, okay.
The commissioners had a updated charge which was presented, and then we had a whole discussion about it wasn't detailed enough as far as for operational efficiency what would be recommended to be at each location. So the commissioners asked the three chiefs to get together and have that discussion about what you would put in the two-station solution at each of the stations. They came back with that, and then the commissioners just approved that.
That's where that recommendation you just showed came from.
Yes.
Correct.
So who came up with what I'm looking at here?
Lorero.
Their architect. Which,
They did this with no input from anyone?
with
No.
input from this recommendation.
From the recommendation, their new space needs assessment, and like I said, they did bring another set to us beforehand that the deputy and I reviewed, and I says, well, this doesn't fit here,
Well,
and this needs to go there for flow, and then they took that back and came back with this.
Can you expound on the turnover at Lorero? Because I think everyone here should be familiar with that.
Sure. The gentleman we're dealing, James, he's left the company. So now we're dealing with the owner of the company, and I can't remember, I didn't write their names down. The architect, another James, and then the project manager, who's on vacation right now somewhere.
So, I mean, when you think about it, one of the selling points of Lorero was that their architect had previous fire station experience. And I guess what I'd like to know is, how does this new guy stack up?
Hey, Derek.
Hi, Derek.
How are you?
You wanna come over and sit right here?
Oh,
Brother,
sure.
come on.
Who's at the head of the table?
Where
were you the other night?
MFIC at
The meeting?
I was paid to stay away.
Oh, that's good for the community.
Too big. Here you go, Derek.
Thank you.
So, Thomas Roy
Yes.
is no longer there?
No, he's the big boss.
He's there. James Hardy,
He's the one that left.
he's the one that left.
Yeah.
And the architect.
I can find the.
He wasn't the architect.
Right.
James Hardy, he was like a project manager.
Right. Yeah, I have the architect right here.
The architect is still there.
I thought you said the old timer left. The architect.
Which name do you have?
Brian
Only
and
one
Joe.
person left.
Brian
Brian Warsham,
and Joe.
Joe Perry.
Joe Perry, yeah. So
Joe
those
Perry.
Good guitarist, right?
not related to Steve Perry.
So the architect that we were originally dealing with was Robert Griswax.
We're not dealing with him anymore.
He was the point person, and Robert Nolt was the principal in charge of Lux Consulting Engineers.
So I haven't talked to the engineers, although the engineers were looking at this stuff, but I haven't talked to any engineers yet.
Okay, so Bob Griswax is gone.
I don't know if he's left the company, but I know I haven't talked with him concerning this since with the new directives yet.
So what's the new architect's name?
Oh,
John?
I'll pull it back up, sorry. I don't want to give you the wrong here. Brian Warsham, W-O-R.
Okay. So Brian was the one that was, he's been on this from the beginning.
Yes, he's been on it from
was-
the beginning.
He was getting the geotechnical information. So he's not like a newbie.
Yeah, no, Brian is like, he's the main guy for pricing and putting things together. And then Joe Perry, I guess he's actually doing the drawings under Brian's direction.
So Joe Perry is the draftsman?
I don't know what his official title is, but I think he has an architectural certification.
All right. In your next conversation with Lorero, would you be kind enough to find out if Bob Griswax is still there and if he's overseeing any of the architectural responsibilities of this project? Because I recall him being very instrumental, at least in my thought process of approving Lorero, was his experience with.
See the, one of the gentlemen that we met with at the PD?
At the
Yes.
PD, yes.
Yes,
I remember him.
he was the old timer in the suit. I guess.
So if, this happened to us once before, right? We were working with someone left, then we had to make a decision, do we stay or do we go? Is that where we are now?
No, we have signed contract with Lorero, and that's the way it is.
In their initial contract, it did say that if they change staff, there's a clause in there that you have certain rights, but it makes no sense to change
No,
horses, please.
no, they've received so much of that money.
One unknown for another.
I'm not suggesting that we jump ship.
Right.
I just want everyone to be on the
Well,
same
you
page.
could get the qualifications or
I think we're
whatever.
running out of people to jump ship too, aren't we?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so, any further comments, Chief, before we get talking about this?
I think that's about it. I mean, I guess I would like to do one station at a time, so when I write down the comments, I can relate them to Lorero for any changes that we have in mind.
Okay, well, I'll talk about the elephant in the room, because one of these is 10,458 square feet, that's Sanborn Road.
Yep.
And Park Street is 17,454 square feet. And at our ballpark estimate of $750 a square foot, we're looking at $21 million for these two buildings.
Say it quicker, it don't hurt as much.
It's
What was the
painful.
dollar per square foot number?
$750.
So
Where did that number come from?
Yeah, where'd that?
I thought it was $550.
Lorero gave us a cost this past June or July of $391 per square foot, not counting site work, which we had already have estimates on. But the site work has gone up like 6% per year or something like that. And so the site work is 2 years old. I have all those figures.
Well, let's take a step back, because I recall in a meeting in your office that I was under the impression it was like 350 to 375, and I threw that number out, and you said, no, it's 7 to 750.
Yeah, because that's
So
what I'm
that-
hearing from other fire chiefs who are building fire stations right now.
So that's where I got the 750 number, was in a conversation with the chief.
And when I asked those fire chiefs can you break that number down for me, they says, well, that includes everything. I says, what do you mean by everything? Land acquisition, site work, building square footage, does that include furnitures, fixes, and equipment? And they said, yes. So I don't know, we're not comparing apples to apples
The
right
land
now.
acquisitions,
We don't
Well,
have it.
let me throw this out, just again, as an anecdote. I spoke with a lady Monday who just built a brand new house in Gilmanton, not including the land, 1,900 square feet, $700,000, $375 a square foot for a residence. So I think 375 might be, or the
What we say,
390
391.
might be a little bit.
Old numbers?
How about we
Yeah.
ask for updated estimates?
I did already ask them
Okay.
for that, and they haven't given them to me yet. That was-
He was hesitant right away.
Yeah,
I think he wanted some more input back from this guy. It seemed like that to me in the meeting that we had with him. Because that was asked.
Yeah.
So I took some time to review these drawings, and I do have some comments, questions, and thank you for being here, because hopefully you're someone who can,
Just don't hold anything against me.
I won't. We're here for your unbiased opinion.
I think you should pick one of the stations to
Okay,
start with.
which one?
Park
We started on Sanborn,
Oh,
right?
We'll go with Sanborn, that's the one on top.
So as it's printed here,
Uh-huh.
the total, the square footage is what did you say?
Down on the bottom right
10,000.
corner.
It's in that little tiny box.
Yeah.
You gotta look
Got
hard.
got your monocle?
10,458.
Yeah,
10,450.
yeah. And the other one
And
is
Kevin,
1744.
I read it off this one, which is half the size of that one.
Yeah, but I saw you with your glasses going,
Maybe I do it.
We're looking at a total, Kevin, of 27,942 for both.
Now,
27,942.
their original space needs came up with 14,700 for Sanborn.
how do we
So
go?
it's less.
That's because the headquarters is at Park
We
Street.
do, because
Yeah, we take-
Yeah,
you
but
look
Park
at-
Street's less too.
if you look at these, it's right here.
Oh,
But I
can,
thought on Park
can
Street.
somebody
Right.
offer,
But that's okay.
a
Makes
reminder of
Divvy
what
up the
the
equipment.
three zones are in the building
Yes, I have.
as far as, you know, hot, medium, and cold, as far as the, decon versus the trucks versus where people are sleeping?
Hot,
What,
warm, and
what
cold.
stuff, yeah, what stuff goes in each one of those areas?
So we'll start with the living area, and that's the cold area, and that's anywhere where you should not take anything contaminated. That's the kitchen, the bedrooms, the office areas, any of the regular bathrooms. That's the cold area. The warm area mostly is the decontamination suite, where there's showers, lockers, all the washing gear, the extractors, the dryers, another set of washer and dryer for like uniform clothes, that kind of stuff. Big sinks so we can wash our equipment in. That would be in the warm zone because it's the decontamination area. The hot zone is everything on the other side. So the apparatus room and everything on that side is all hot.
So turnout gear?
Turnout gear, if it's exposed, it is. If it isn't, so the turnout gear, not necessarily, because that it's clean. It's supposed to be clean.
So if I'm looking at this plan, just to help me understand this, the right-hand side where the offices are, this is all cold except for the decon square.
Yes.
And then when you get into the garage, that's all hot. But we have EMS storage, which I would assume is not.
Right.
And we have turnout gear, which I would assume would be ready to go, clean.
Yes.
So those two aren't necessarily hot, right?
Correct.
Okay.
In the decon area is a negative pressure room, so that nothing leaks into either space. It's always negative pressure, so air is going in and then it's vented out.
Right.
Does it
And you
make
don't
sense?
normally have it on the exterior
Yeah,
wall?
that should be, shouldn't that be over here where the storage is?
Well, these are all
Or
things
turn out.
that's what we're here to talk about. You can do all these things.
Oh, right. Well, so there was the placement of that room, but also, this, I do something for the firefighters. Do you go all the way across the garage to get your turnout gear?
That's a big problem for me with both these stations. Being the engine and the ambulance are up front, and then the EMS storage is out back, which is it's way too far. And also the turnout gear is too far. In the morning, I take at least 3 to 4 trips to get all my gear from my locker to the fire engine, just back and forth, because we carry so much stuff, right? And this is,
Maybe you should tell them what you carry, because they're like.
I carry my turnout gear, I carry my Swiftwater gear, I carry an extra coat, I carry a backpack, sometimes my forestry gear, like right now.
And some of that gear you bring and you put in the truck or sitting there
I
on
put
the
it
floor?
all in the truck. And like I'd have to take, in order to leave in the morning or put my stuff on the truck, I'd have to take 3 to 4 trips to get to the fire engine.
Inside the truck, there's a mesh, like place a lot of people put their backpacks and stuff in to secure them in the truck. Because they don't want it, like if he leaves on a fire alarm activation, and then we get a Swiftwater call, he can't come back to the station to get a Swiftwater gear. He goes from that fire alarm activation to the, so he needs everything, any call he could go on, he needs all his equipment. And it's not just him, it's every firefighter in the station.
It's a lot of, I would need a shopping cart to go from the engine to the turnout gear to bring all my stuff back and forth.
We can steal one from Market Basket. I've seen them all over.
Which one the other side?
I was putting my stuff away yesterday
Railroad
morning,
track
and I
trying to come
was
versus
like,
use one.
in 6 years from now, I'm going to need a shopping cart to get rid of all, to get all my stuff off.
You typically would always leave in an engine?
As the captain, yes, unless we're on the ambulance call.
So are any of the guys, depending on the call, going to get in the ambulance or the fire truck?
Yeah.
Yes,
What do those guys do with their gear?
they have to
Switch them
back
from
and
the
forth.
ambulance.
So when I go to Park Street to get the ambulance, grab all my stuff and put it on the ambulance, because one, I don't want to be caught not having my gear, all my gear, because I could be at the hospital, we can get a Swiftwater call, and I don't have my Swiftwater bag.
So the 4 guys who are on, all their gear's already loaded into the truck when you come in?
The 4 guys.
They
that are
usually
on
take
shift,
off,
yeah.
that's,
Yeah.
they'll wake up in the morning and get their stuff off for the new guys coming on.
I usually take my stuff off around 6.
And so if the 2 guys need to take the ambulance, they just grab their stuff off the truck, move it to the ambulance?
So there's 2 guys always on the ambulance and 2 guys always on the fire engine
Okay.
at Center Street. There's an engine operator and an officer, and there's 2 ambulance attendants. And they're assigned to those pieces of apparatus.
So you
The
wouldn't
only
have a case
time-
where all 4 of them would leave on the fire truck for
Just on the building
Building
fire.
fire.
Building fire only, otherwise the ambulance always goes, because if we have a second call, so if they're heading to a fire alarm activation and the fire truck's going, and all 4 of them in the fire truck, we had a medical call, they could split, so they can't split off if all 4 of them get on the fire truck, so, if we, you know, because a fire alarm activation, well, hopefully it doesn't need 4, it may, so all 4 go, but if we have a medical, that ambulance splits off.
Okay, thank you, that's very helpful.
So what I think I'm hearing from you, Derek, is that the turnout gear room should be closer to the front of the station where the ambulance and the engine would be departing from.
Yeah, and that's as simple as just redesigning it. Like the turnout gear, the EMS storage should be close to the fire engine and the ambulance, because, it's not easy, but to restock the ambulance, we could go to an ambulance call and use a lot of stuff out of the ambulance, and to have to walk 50 feet to the ambulance storage, or 60 feet to the ambulance storage, and then have to walk back, and usually a guy's sitting in the back of the ambulance like, hey, I need a BVM, or hey, I need a non-rebreather, and it's too far. It just doesn't make sense to me.
right over here
It
would
needs
be
to be
better.
right here.
Right. It looks like if you took all these rooms here, because they're like storage, it's not like the mechanical electrical room,
Right.
which is more, it's harder to move that with the engineering, but, I mean, those could all, instead of a block of 4, it could be just like this straight line across here,
Yeah.
Good.
which makes more sense. I mean, I would think you'd want your turnout gear closer to your decon room, because you decon it, and then you gotta put it back.
And I feel differently about having, so we have 2 decon, we have a decon room at this station and a decon room at the Park Street station, and in my mind, if we have a building fire, and the guys go out for a building fire and need to be deconned, they're probably gonna go to the main station where all the hose is stored and whatnot. I personally don't see the need for 2 decon rooms, but that's my opinion.
The
Let's-
space,
The only thing I'd say, we need a room for an extractor. and
We
a
need a
dryer.
room for extractor,
We
but a whole
and so-
decon room just is,
And then like you come back from an ambulance call, you need a place
Yeah.
to spray it off, you need,
yeah.
I understand it might not need to be as big, and I get you. But, I mean, I think there needs to be a room that you walk in off the apparatus floor, you can decon and then go into the,
Yeah.
whether it needs to be the same size, I don't know, but you do need that room.
I think this one's smaller than the
This one is small, because I was wondering why the other one had like 4 bathrooms, 4 shower heads, but this one only needed 2.
Is there
Yeah, Park Street's where 90% of it's gonna happen.
Is there
Right.
any reason why all those rooms on the far side of the garage couldn't be moved over to the right side of the garage, the base?
They could go in this particular decon and wellness space.
what if this whole decon thing was moved over here? And that was then, the turnout gear and EMS were somewhere over here.
So the point of the decon room being near the bunks is, I've been reading about it, because
Clean yourself.
and
Yeah.
You clean yourself.
you clean yourself, you don't wanna go back out into the hot zone, right? So I was talking to so these lockers right here, in a perfect world, I don't know if it would happen, but in a perfect world, you take a second uniform and you put it in one of these lockers for the day. That way, if you go out on a call, you get blood or stool or anything else on you, you come in the decon room, you clean yourself, you take a shower, and you have a clean uniform right there, and then you can progress to your dorm room. And that's why you would want that connected. Doesn't have to be right there, but you would want it connected to the living space, because you
Okay.
come in this way, you come in dirty this way, and you come out clean this way,
Right.
is the way it was explained to me, and it makes
That's
sense.
exactly right.
That makes sense.
But again, I guess, why are those 4 rooms over in that corner instead of being over here along this wall? I don't know.
Well, that's why we're here. We can change, we can tell them we want things changed, and they'll change it. And what you're saying is where the EMS should be near the ambulance and the turnout gear should be somewhere near the trucks, that's all, that certainly makes sense. I think they were probably just trying to make the best use of the square footage that they're working with. But that doesn't mean they couldn't change the shapes of these so that they could, you know, move everything over, and now you have long, narrow things here for EMS storage and turnout gear. It's,
Yeah, the
So
limiting
is every-
factor is where the
Didn't we
doors are. right?
yeah, well, you can,
But you can
but
still move.
move
this
everything
into this,
over
but-
and make this narrower.
This drive-through?
Yeah, there's two of them are drive-through, one is not.
That's on Sanborn Road, on
Sanborn.
Park Street, they're
Park
all
Street.
back.
Right,
Yeah.
but it occurs to me more than once we've said no drive-through.
No.
Wow.
Well, we
Isn't that
talked
an
about it.
advantage?
And discussed quite a bit.
If you can have drive-through, you should. Makes a lot of things easier.
Well, that's something that we
But you're
can,
probably never gonna drive through.
No,
We're
you
not
you
gonna
back
do it.
things up back to back, like ambulances and stuff like that, or back to back, if that's the way you put them in. So if you're gonna use that second ambulance or the pickup truck or something, you just drive out that way instead of having to pull something out and then pull out the pickup truck and then back up something in.
so one of mine, are we all set on the decon? One of my notes was, that there's 5 dorms. One for the officer, 3 for firefighters, and 1 for a student. I thought in the past we had talked about,
2 people.
yeah, either doubling up the student or eliminating it. Now, I don't want to bounce around a lot, but the other station has a student dorm with 2 beds in it. And my question would be then, why do we need a student dorm for 2 at one and 1 at the other? Can we eliminate the student dorm in this building?
Yes.
You can do whatever you want.
So, staff is projected to be the same at both stations, correct?
Yes. No, well, not
We-
right away.
So, the plan that the commissioners have put forward, or we put forth to the commission, is the staffing at 6, which would be 4 at Park Street and 2 at Sanborn Road, with the thinking that maybe 20, 25 years down the road, we have 4 and 4. I don't know, but the initial staffing plan in 2030, say, somewhere around, I hate to say dates, but
I think, I mean, we're told that, and I happen to agree, that you need 4 people. Or are we gonna have 2?
so that's
I
gonna
think
be,
4 and 4 is a lot closer than anyone really wants to admit.
we're up 34% this year already.
I'm thinking 4 and 4.
And you're absolutely right, 4 and 4, I mean, is a much better force, because I think when I talked to the Northfield Selectmen, I went over this, is the 4 people, if we go 4 and 2, those 2 people aren't putting a building fire out, they're not handling a motor vehicle accident, they're gonna be an ambulance crew, and then they're gonna start initial attack on a fire or initial care, but nothing's really getting done until those 4 people show up.
So I think that dorm space not being the most expensive per square foot, the dorm space should be equal in both places. Whether you're using it right now or not,
So,
it's a hell of a lot less money right now, is it ridiculously expensive as it is. And if you're thinking ahead to that, where does it go when you need it over there?
so right now there's 7 dorms, I'm sorry, 8 dorms at Sanborn Road.
What?
And 5,
5.
No,
8 at Park
6.
I'm sorry, I come backwards.
Yeah,
8 at
5
Park
with 1
Street,
officer.
5 at,
So if you got 4 people on staff all the time,
5 and 1 officer.
Are those career
Four in
people
one office.
Four in one.
in a dorm 2 and 2, or is it 1, 2, 3, 4? And which is more expensive, 2 and 2 or 1, 2, 3, 4?
Well, the only multi-person dorm on both of these drawings is the student dorm at Park Street, which has 2 beds.
If
No, there's five.
your staff needs a single dorm,
3, 4, 5.
they need a single dorm,
That
whether
one over
they're
No.
a career person or a
Dorms
student.
over here.
If they don't, they can all be bumped out.
There's officer, dorm, and office. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
I mean, trust me, if I was one of you, I'd want my own dorm, and so would
Crew
you.
office is not, that's an office area.
Yes.
Oh, it says
So,
officer, dorm.
I'm not stating preference one way or another, I'm saying
That's 2
across the
beds,
board.
student
Oh,
dorm,
it
2
says,
beds.
that's,
I'm for student beds.
Student dorm,
Just
I just
that's 2
want
beds.
to
Bed,
say that
1, 2, 3, 4.
students have been difficult
4,
lately to
5,
find.
6.
This
And
program's
keep.
failing. It's
This-
not.
They're trying,
Talking
they're
people.
doing, I don't fault the college, I think the true college is trying very hard. The college is doing very good things. But I think the student program from 20 years ago and the student program today is different. And we have an open slot for a day student, we can't accommodate an overnight student. We had one applicant we had to say no to for reasons, and then the candidate we had before, we had to let go for reasons. It's just not like it was, when I started here, we had 5 students, and it worked great. And it just, the student population, now that they have dorms at the college, the kids would rather, and I don't kind of blame them, they'd rather just stay at the college, get their stuff done, and not go work at a firehouse.
So, I mean, if that's the way that's rolling, why are we building store?
I would love it to change, I would love it to change.
Wouldn't we all?
And
I
But
wish,
there is still communities to have students, live-in students, Meredith, Killington.
they do well.
I think all.
And maybe if we had
Yeah.
overnight accommodations,
Um,
we would have, but I
Belmont
don't.
did, I don't know if they still do, but
Yeah.
they did until recently, at least.
I guarantee you this will be better than what they're getting at dorms.
Oh, I got a nice building over there.
Yeah, I mean, if we have brand new, I mean, we're gonna keep, if we have a new facility, our new facility is gonna be way more attractive than a college dorm. I would like to think, because I mean, I've seen college dorms, they suck.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think it makes sense to have the dorms the way you've shown. Just because of growth in the future, if you need it, and if you get the students there, great. It's a small, it's really not that big of an area. If you're
No.
gonna try to cut out one dorm
It's
per
100
building,
It's 120.
it's 120, and what are you doing? The shape of the building is probably gonna stay the shape
you
of
can
the
put
building.
extra
You
crap
might-
in there, and then
You
if you
might
don't
make
need
it a
extra crap.
storage unit or
Exactly.
whatever, I don't know.
But if you don't build them now, where do you build them?
That's right.
Well, that's right.
Right, that's why I think
If-
you leave it
I'm-
alone. You
I'm-
can always use it for storage if you don't use
It's
it.
just a room.
It's a
That's all
room.
it is.
It's a
We don't
room.
have to put beds or anything
It's a
in it, so we
partition.
decided to put.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no,
You know,
I
if,
would-
if the student population doesn't work out, well, guess what, you've got an extra closet.
Well,
But
you know
I
what, and when we have really bad nights, we can call people come in and stay,
Yeah.
work for us, and they can
Yeah, because we do
utilize
staff
that.
extra for the
That's what
snow
we,
emergencies and
exactly.
stuff like
in
that.
some of my other employment places, that's what we do.
Right now, they
And
sleep
the
on an air
furniture's
mattress in the
another
office.
package
so-
anyway, that's not
Yeah,
part of the
That would be
building.
way more
Right,
attractive.
so
I think to have,
it makes sense.
because we're rolling towards 4 and 4, I don't hear anyone else saying that out loud, but
Right.
that's where I'm seeing. And that's where this ship is headed, is 4 and 4.
Right, well, I was gonna bring up, you know, I mean, if, maybe we should just revisit that charge again, because, I mean, it's been a while, but the whole thing is, when we're talking about things, I mean, the whole charge was, it's like a long-term plan anyway, and it's for future growth. This plan is not like, the way it was sold from the, you know, from the commissioners, and I agree, it's, you know, this is gonna be a bit to accomplish, so, you know, to carry us out for the future. We're not building for today, we're building for the future as well.
Well, if the past is any indication of the future, these fire stations are gonna be here for 50 to 100 years.
Or 150.
Yeah.
So,
But I mean,
Over
Tilton,
that
Tilton and Northfield are not getting smaller,
No.
and it's like you say, it's getting more active. And I mean, unfortunately, I mean, for me, my point of view, unfortunately, being such a recreation center for everybody out of state. Not that that's our prerogative. I mean, we have to service them if they're here. I mean, It's not like you're gonna call Tewksbury up to come
Nope.
service your Tewksbury residents.
So what I'm hearing then, I'm just trying to
A lot of them,
summarize as we discuss. So what I'm hearing is that the Sanborn Road, we have 5 dorms at present. 1 for the officer, 3 for firefighters, and 1 for the student. Is it the consensus we should leave the 5 dorms?
I would say
Yeah.
so.
Because that's not, that doesn't provide for 4 people there.
Yes, it does.
That's
Yeah,
5,
that's
5
5 beds.
dorms. There's 5 beds.
And you're saying no student dorm there?
No,
No, that in,
Okay, help me out.
one officer, 3 firefighters, 1 student is 5.
You got 5 dorm rooms.
Okay,
This is Park Street.
Yeah,
No,
I think the point is to leave it like it is on these
This is-
plans.
this
I
is
just
not the
wanna
right
make
plan.
sure
Yeah.
that we're all.
Yeah, I mean, we
look
can
at that,
take
I don't
a,
have the right plan. Does everybody not have the right plan?
IT closet, office, oh, here we go, yeah. 1 for officer, that's 1, 2, 3, 4 for firefighters, so that's 4 firefighters, including the officer, and then 1 for students, so there's 5 in here.
Okay, so whatever there is here, it should be in both places.
The other
There's
station
actually
actually has,
7 in,
There's more on Park
we
Street.
can
There's one more
discuss
room at
that
Park
at
So
Park
we need to
Street.
suck one up somewhere.
so let's just stick with Sanborn
Sanborn.
Road. So 5, everybody's in agreement that 5 dorm rooms are fine. Is that correct?
Yes.
That accommodates a complete shift, right?
yes.
Okay, yes.
Okay, let's stick with Sanborn Road.
It seems like there's a lot of bathrooms.
I
The place
have,
got more toilets than.
I know.
I
Fine.
asked the architect, and there's, the toilets, the number of toilets is required by the square footage of the building,
Oh, jeez.
Including
Seriously?
this?
including everything. And I says, we could
That's
easily
asinine.
lose one of these bathrooms, easily. I think, you know, the one up the
Two
front,
people there right now.
one up the front, you know, maybe it needs to be a handicap accessible bathroom, so if you have somebody in the building, they have the facilities required for them to be there.
but you don't need a male and a female up front, it could be unisex.
It would be,
I
yes.
think,
Yeah, they're
I
both
think the
used.
architect's idea, if you look, once we look at both, because I've had this discussion with him, because I just asked for a room with 10 urinals in it, nothing else, and he, I said, that's what I need. He said these are gender neutral bathrooms, all, and that's why they're single stall, basically. That's, you know, and it accommodates the least amount of fixtures. So this is the minimum amount of fixtures, basically.
But what you're saying is that we can't eliminate one.
No, not if we're gonna build it to the code. The
So,
IBCs.
so would it be accurate to say that if I'm in the building, I'm not probably ever gonna use the toilet in the decon room unless I'm.
No, you will
Right.
not.
Still
be
have to-
making them.
Yeah,
So
still
that
follow
one's not
the
available.
building.
So I've got the 2 down by the dorms and I've got the 2 at the front door.
Right.
And then one in the,
So what, I have to ask, because it drives me nuts. What code tells you how many toilets you gotta have?
I believe it's the
probably
IBC
the
and the
IBC.
ADA, between the 2 of those, I believe. I
the
don't
20
know that, please don't,
And this is just for municipal buildings, this code applies to?
Any-
any building.
But
So
what I
like,
question is, do they have to use the square footage of the garage space?
didn't ask that specific question, because I asked the same question, I thought there was too many bathrooms.
I mean, that can't possibly apply to like new buildings, like if I wanted to build a garage.
Well,
That
if you, a public space, so if you, it depends what use.
This is a public.
This happened at the school, this came up at the school last year, because I don't know if you know, the school went to basically gender neutral bathrooms. And so they reduced the number of fixtures they had, so they had to like, and they actually have to be within a certain feet of every space too, because you can't be required to run across, especially if you're handicapped, you can't be expected to run a certain distance to get to a bathroom. So they had to put single, if you notice in the school, they had to put single station bathrooms kind of in a weird spot. I think it was to accommodate this same type of thing.
It surprised me when at the district meeting, when I went around the corner, because I went into the inside of the building, not the outside, and I said,
Mhm.
well, everything's different here.
Yeah,
Wow.
Can Can you verify with the architect if we can remove one of the bathrooms
And
up
this is
front?
the kind of thing that makes everything just more expensive.
Right.
Yeah.
All the
Yes.
plumbing and all the other
Right.
associated.
That's a plumber's union for you right there.
Right.
They got that code.
You said it what I did. Exactly what it is.
You know, we could put 1,000 extra feet of piping in this baby if we require 16 more bathrooms, you know?
And they
All
have,
of our
they have them
plumber
all
friends
over
who
the
like
place,
it.
did you notice
Yeah.
that? They're over here, here, here.
How did the garage end up being 85 feet?
To fit the vehicles with space in between them. So the squares
Mm-hmm.
are the size of our vehicles that we have pictured here.
We were having trouble finding a place, so the pickup truck and the boat to be back to back, and then adding a space for the ladder truck. Now, the ladder truck could be at Park Street, it could be here, I'm not, but we wanted the ability to be able to put the ladder truck in this station if we needed to. We thought operationally, there's reasons you would want it at Sanborn Road, there was reasons you would want it at Park Street. And that, I think a lot of that has to do with how active your call company is. The more active the call company is, the more you're gonna want it at Park Street. So, to be able to have that operational, it's only a couple, 5 more feet. We had to kind of make the building a little bit bigger to be able to have the operational ability to have switch which station the ladder truck was.
Shouldn't you be able to put, not everything in one space, but shouldn't you be able to arrange everything you have in either place?
And that was, we couldn't, and so when he says it's 80, because he was 78 feet, chief, is that what I said?
Yeah.
Was it 80 feet?
80 feet.
At 80 feet, we could not. And so making this station 5 feet bigger gave us the ability to basically move it.
Apparatus bay is the cheapest component of this building.
Yeah.
You'll not.
I just,
The other thing
I just
is
noticed,
apparatus space.
what was the intent of that storage? Because when we were just talking about moving like the shop repair, turnout gear and EMS, but I just noticed we have it looks like an overhead door opening, or is
Yep,
that?
that's for
for
the
the
lawnmower, the snow blowers, and gas operate, all that kind of stuff that we're gonna need there to take care of our property. There's other stuff we put
Yeah,
in
we have to
there.
mow our own, we don't do our
Yeah,
own weed
it's like
whacking,
that.
lawn mowing.
The winter tires for the ambulance or the summer tires.
Right, well, my only point was, you're not gonna move that down here.
I thought it was, I saw that. I thought it
Well,
was
yeah,
gonna
actually, I
get
guess you
all
could,
cut.
they just moved the bay doors down, yeah.
You could change the
You can
doors
still, yeah,
around.
just
Yeah.
change that
Yeah.
layout there. And that would actually make sense off the mechanical and electrical, if it was beside there,
I
but.
mean, there's if you look at, you could leave the storage in the shop over there and just put the turnouts gear in the EMS storage and just kind of,
Yeah,
you don't have to move all 4
Separate
rooms, you just
slow
can move 2 rooms. And then you'd have to switch the engine and the ambulance in the front, which would be kind of
Right.
not great. But, because you can't put the engine back to back with the boat and the pickup truck.
Right.
You have to put an ambulance there,
I
because
do
you're gonna be able to
appreciate,
pull the stretcher out.
I do appreciate that you guys, you left the command vehicles out of here.
Yeah, the guys asked me about that today, they're like, you're still gonna have to wipe the
This is
snow
a
off your
separate
car?
garage for
I
that.
was like, yes, I'm still gonna have to wipe the snow off my car.
Usually we get it.
So. I just keep a straight face. There's no covered area for command vehicles?
No. There is one, if you notice, because it's coming, in the next, I'd say 15 years, there's room for 4 ambulances. It would be.
both stations.
There's room for 2 ambulances at each station. So currently, there's gonna be, we won't even have 3, we'll have 3 ambulances in January. 1 will be the reserve ambulance and 2 will run. We are gonna get to a point, in my opinion, in the next 15 years, that we're gonna need 3 ambulances operating and 1 reserve ambulance. So if you notice, there's 4 ambulance spaces, 2 at each station.
And you ain't doing that without 4 and 4.
Yeah, but that's happening at some point. I don't know when.
So, another question, you've got all this room to the left of the ladder truck where there's a stairway up to the mezzanine.
Mhm.
What do you anticipate all that space being used for?
The only thing I could think of putting over there is like hose racks or something like that, but, like I say, I think
Yeah,
this
like
needs
10
work. I think if we move these 2 rooms over here, there's room to adjust what's going on over here as well.
Yeah, this station doesn't have a hose tower, so you're gonna need, if you need to dry a piece of hose, not a lot, but if you need to dry 1 or 2 pieces of hose, you're gonna hang them on the wall here. You're gonna have your, you're gonna have your hose rack here with your extra.
With all your rolled up hose.
With your
So
rolled
you'll
up
have
hose.
enough hose over here to stock one engine,
I
probably.
think you can move everything this way.
If you,
I mean, if you-
Swap them
Look here.
over, yeah.
Yeah,
Because you're gonna
storage
want your
and
mezzanine above
turn
that.
it here, right here.
Remember the living space stuff, that's gonna be a lower level, it's gonna have a roof line that's lower.
The living, this side?
Yeah,
Yeah, I think
Just-
it's, well,
Derek-
the way I picture this right now is that, the ridge goes this way on this one, and then the ridge goes this way here, so, you're not having water coming towards the front, either apron, it's going to the
right, it goes
sides.
away from the overheads.
Yeah,
Chief and Derek, I guess this question's for you. This is an honest question because I can't think of why you wouldn't. Could you just put a 3-foot deep closet, but make it longer for EMS storage? You actually need a room.
yeah, no, you
Yeah,
could.
we don't need a room.
Yeah, I mean, you could make that narrower against the, you could save a lot of, I mean, I don't know. I just don't.
Then we could look and see how many,
I know it has to be, I know it has to have the ability to be locked, but you could still lock a closet along the wall.
Is the area occupied on this plan for turnout and storage big enough for a command vehicle?
Probably. 8 foot wide, probably not, no. I mean,
squeeze.
squeeze.
I'd have to, if we rearrange everything, might be able to.
This station
It's not gonna have a
is not gonna
command
have a command vehicle. This is, even if we have 4 guys here, this would still be the substation. The plant, because the village is our biggest life threat.
Yeah.
So we want our call guys and our command staff in the village. And
Even
that
if
was
you
always
get to the
thought.
point where you have 4 guys, and then you have a shift commander, which would be a 9th guy on duty, he would be at headquarters.
Yeah.
And there's definitely no room for anything over there.
This would still, even if you equaled the staff, this would still be the substation. Like if you wanted to pull the building permit, you would go to Park Street. If you wanted to talk to the chief, you would go to Park Street, because this is where our life threat is. And this is where, not to say there isn't a life threat
Oh,
out
I
there,
get it.
but there's a bigger
It's
life
greater.
threat. It's greater in the village. And so the thought was to make this a substation. So the chances are, except during construction there'll be command vehicles here, but after construction, there probably won't be any command
and that
vehicles.
would be my argument
Actually,
to you
the
as
command
far as
vehicles
the
are gonna be still at
decon.
Center Street.
Yeah,
Because this
if
will
we
be
do
the-
that.
This
Yeah.
will be the
I still like the office.
primary facility.
Renting an
For a little
office
For a
from
while.
somebody, but.
So every time we make a change and we say, hey, Lorero, said it, Lorero,
Yes, spell it.
no thanks.
IT.
Every time they do one of these, they're gonna take some money from us?
No,
No.
no.
We have X number free, what,
We don't have any free, it's all allocated, but they have a allocation of how much money for everything like that. And so I told them that we're gonna have to go through a few of these, and after maybe a couple of meetings where we think we've kind of got where we want, Lorero's gonna come in with us at one of these meetings and go over maybe more questions that you may have and stuff like that. And we'll come up with more definitive plans.
I guess the next question I have is the day room kitchen combination room. Are we limited on the size of that based upon the number of full-timers? Or can we reduce the size of that room?
Well, you gotta think, so until, if the whole plan is approved, the fire department's gonna be living out of here, all the staff is gonna be here, so it's actually gonna have 4 people on duty 24/7 here. So shrinking it down, you might be able to do a little bit, but you
Well, I
can see what,
For instance, I see 6 chairs looking at a TV
yep,
and 12 seats at the kitchen table. And that exceeds, our target of 4 people there.
so there's many times where we have many more people eating with us than the 4 people on shift.
Can they bring their own chair?
so what kind of situation is that?
So we have visitors, we have students coming in.
You got like a menu? Cause I
No,
like to eat.
Yeah, there is.
Do you sometimes in the morning though, when there's two shifts change?
Yeah, there's 2 shifts changing, they eat breakfast
people,
together.
9 people.
8, I'm usually there having a cup of coffee before shift, so.
9 people.
So there's 9 of us usually in the morning. At lunchtime, there's 4, me, the chief, and Kathy is 7. Usually there's an 8th person, so it's usually 8 at lunch right now.
Paramedic student,
Paramedic student, yeah, when,
call member.
yeah.
Well, my concern with the kitchen is, you don't have a pantry.
No, the kitchen,
There's
in
no
that
storage.
respect,
The kitchen is very inadequate, because, you know, it's not like my house where nobody was in my kitchen all day today and there won't be dinner tonight. You guys are doing multiple meals a day, and then you've got the shift changing.
It's a tough, like, because when this becomes a substation, I don't know, it's a tough, but it's gonna be 3 or 4 years, right, 3 years, I mean, I don't, in this
I mean,
building.
every fire station I went to see that was fairly new constructed, they had a pantry, and it was like each crew had their own section in the pantry.
we don't
I don't know
operate
if they do
that
that.
way.
We don't really operate that
We don't
way.
operate, it's like if, once this food is bought, it's put in the cabinet, anybody can have it. It's like, unless you put your name on it,
Then it gets eaten.
Is that 2 swing outdoors, is that a refrigerator, or is that a?
I think that's a refrigerator freezer.
So you got the refrigerator next to the stove, so you have very little counter space. Yeah, it just seems inadequate.
Take some of this space.
So,
You know?
Derek, again, I don't wanna overstep on the firefighters' toes, but my thought, if you wanted to shrink that, instead of shrinking that, you'd move the crew office into that room and then get rid of the crew office, is that? Like, move 2 computers into that room on a desk?
Yep.
And instead of shrinking the day room as planned, put a desk
Put-
in there
Put 2 desks
with,
in there and
with a
get rid of the crew
computers
office.
on and get rid of crew office. That would be a better.
It's at the front door.
That doesn't make the kitchen any bigger.
No, I'm saying, well,
But it
I thought
is-
the question was making the kitchen smaller.
So this is your
They
front
don't
entrance.
Oh,
So if a member of the public comes in, they come in through the vestibule, they can't just walk into the
No,
station,
it's-
right?
this-
So don't you
this is
need a
locked
crew
right
office?
here.
Is
That's why they put it there, because they want
Right,
somebody.
right. So you
Somewhere
can't-
to-
So you can't get rid of the crew office at that location, right? Isn't that,
I mean, there won't be anybody stationed there. Again, it's a
Oh, okay.
substation. This is not,
all right.
while we're operating out of here, maybe that crew office is the office we put the admin assistant in or something like that. I don't know. We had
Yeah.
spoken about leaving everybody at Center Street. I was hoping to ask the committee maybe to rent one of those commercial trailers where you could put it next to the station or something, but.
That's what I was gonna
You
ask,
know
I
what,
mean,
if you do that, it'll become permanent and you'll be living there.
right, so I guess back to the plan was if everything's approved, first phase is Sandman Road,
Yeah,
and then will we look into tear down Center Street or keep Center Street?
Keep Center Street.
keep Center
Until and then we're gonna work on,
Park Street.
Park
Park
Street,
Street,
because you're
okay.
gonna, when
I
you,
just had to,
you'll fill Sanborn Road up as much as you can with stuff, and then when you tear down Park
right,
Street,
right,
you're gonna use Center Street to store
right, 'cause you
the
sold it
rest of
Center
the
Street.
stuff, and that's probably where most of the call folks will respond, to Center Street, to get, there'll be an engine
Right.
and an ambulance, and whatever else we can
Maybe
squeeze in
Forestry,
it.
hopefully, or.
Yeah,
What I'd really like to do, because I get confused very easily when we pinball. When a discussion point comes up, what I'd like to do is resolve it before we move to the next one. For instance, we were talking about the kitchen day room and possibly moving the crew office to that room. Is that something we want the chief to have Lorero look at?
What happens
Lisa
to the
just made a
crew?
very good point, though. I didn't even
I don't
think about
think so.
that. People coming in, you need a
You
space.
need somebody to,
You need a space.
you need a window to,
Yeah.
You need a window, but you
But
don't
there's-
need.
There's not always
you might
someone
not
in
need
there.
that,
Right.
right.
Move it, like,
That's when they would, that's where you would be filling out your paperwork.
so I'd honestly add an extra 50 square feet to the dorms and put a desk in there. That's what I would do.
Say that again?
And to the dorms, to the firefighter dorms,
Oh, I
put
see
a
what
desk
you're
in
saying.
there and do your
Reports right in.
reports right in there and be done with not have a crew office. That's what I would prefer.
So
That makes more sense than putting it in the day room.
I come into this building from the public side to the vestibule. Am I gonna be caught in a 4 by 6 foot, whatever that is,
Yes.
area?
Well,
with no one to talk to?
Well,
Yes,
well,
that's
what
why I'm
happens-
saying the office means.
No,
Okay.
that's not uncommon. Go to DPW and
Yeah,
tell
you're
them.
gonna ring a bell and
You
somebody's
ring
gonna
a
come
bell
to
on
the
the
door.
outside, you don't enter the building until somebody comes there
Right.
to let you in,
I don't.
period.
I personally, I don't need a window to walk up to and be like, "Hello, how can I help you?" Oh, yeah, you need to come in. Let me walk around and open the door. I don't know. I just
So this door
open the
will have a window in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Open the door and say, "Can I
This,
help you?"
So-
I mean, this station is
You
not
fill out
for
fire
public
permit
business,
form.
Right, so-
There'd be a desk there, you fill it
It
out.
might be
hand it
public
to
Yeah,
coming
them.
to it, but it's,
I would totally agree at Park Street, where there's administrative assistance and more interaction with the public. Where here, it's gonna be firefighters or family.
There'll still be, because the police station's next door and this is gonna be, look kinda like a town complex, people are gonna be coming to this door for whatever reason.
And it
Okay.
does look like this little,
Right, but you're gonna have you probably have like a little intercom thing. I mean, like, when I go to Franklin Fire Department, if I'm not mistaken, they do,
Yep.
like, hello, who is this? You know?
Yeah.
I mean, it's as simple as that. I like Derek's idea. That I think that's brilliant, really. I mean, instead of, because when you were all talking about putting the stuff in the day room kitchen area for doing your paperwork and stuff like that, closing out whatever you do, I mean, that just seems a little whack to me. But
That's how they do it now.
EMS report.
yeah, but I mean, but you know what? If each guy, if you're gonna do your own EMS report, you go to your room. You come through decon, you're all clean and fresh new uniform, whatever. And like you said, you got extra space there. Everybody can go to their own space and do their reports. Bada bing. No interruptions. You get the shit done probably.
There's a lot of socialization that goes on at those desks.
Well,
Yes.
yeah, because what,
Was that why
Might
it
be
takes so long to
working
get stuff
together.
done?
Well, that's what I'm saying.
That's
Is that a
not-
benefit or a?
No, it's a good
that's
thing.
not a bad thing.
It's a good thing.
yeah.
And here's my fear with adding 50 feet to square feet to each of the dorm rooms. We haven't saved any square footage. We've just moved it. So I think, my opinion.
I don't want people hanging out in the bedrooms either. If you make it bigger, people wanna hang out, they wanna run a cable TV in there and hang out in the bedroom.
Well,
Then you lose that social
Get the
connection
separation.
of your crew. You know, you want them to be together as
Well,
much as possible.
and I agree. So unless we can reduce the square footage, I don't think moving it is any benefit. The whole reason for moving it would be to cut square footage.
Theoretically, you could delete it and you put a desk in each dorm room, but that defeats the purpose of doing the work together.
So
Could it,
locate this building on that lot for me.
Police station's over here.
That big
Sanborn Road,
Sanborn Road,
the road to the tango.
yes.
Okay.
Well, in the grand scheme of things, I don't see if you're gonna cut this one too much, really. Because especially if we're gonna be housing a bunch of equipment, if we have to house everything from Park Street, all that equipment here, and most of our personnel, wow.
I don't mind short-term aggravation.
Short-term pain
No,
for
I know.
long-term gain.
You know, because we're gonna be paying for this for 20 years. That's the long-term gain. Or long-term pain.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, not just us, we're cognizant of like who's out there. I probably won't be paying for anything over the next 20, 25 years myself, personally. I mean, it's just the way things are in life. You know? I mean, we're gonna live so long.
Well, I guess,
But we're trying to take care of the future too, that's what.
yeah. Well, I guess, you know, a couple thoughts enter my mind. Number one is that, we want to make sure we meet the standards and provide healthy area for these ladies and gentlemen to live. But I also, in the back of my mind, I've heard it from a multitude of different firefighters, and they have all said to me, Paul, the building doesn't save lives. So,
Cozy.
what's that?
Nothing. Said small and cozy.
And, you know, there's some truth to that. So I'm all for having a functional, safe building, but what I don't want it to be is become a hotel or a, you know.
True, but on the other, I mean, the best way to get out of everybody worrying about their taxes all the time is to have a better tax base. And, you know, you have people that.
That I have no control over.
I understand that,
I
but,
do.
but we do. When people come to a community, right? If I'm coming to a community, I'm considering the community for my family and or business. Okay, let me look around. Wow, doesn't seem like Tilton Northfield gives two hoots about their freaking fire and EMS service. If you look at the buildings, because you know what, when you come in and check things out, yeah, you might look at their records and stuff, but you don't necessarily look at, you know, what these guys all do. You look at the school systems. People come in and they're like, these people haven't graduated a literate person in 16 years. I'm not moving my children here. You know, so people do look at what we have for our municipal infrastructure. You know, DPW, what the hell is that? I can see I'm going to need a 4-wheel drive because they're not even prepared to, you know, and I'm not saying that's the problem that we have. But I'm saying, I mean,
So
but if
how
we want
does
to
that
attract,
relate to this?
well, in the future, how it relates to it is, you know, if we're going to, I don't necessarily believe, I believe it's kind of like that Field of Dreams thing. If you build it, they will come to a certain extent. You know, and I mean, people are coming to the area. Business is going to, so to constantly, I mean, we get trapped in this pigeonhole, this tunnel vision of right now. You know, we don't,
Well,
you know, we see the future, but it's way that we don't look out here. We're just like,
I don't
it's
think
only right
that's
there.
the case here at all, right?
Not in this, no.
Well,
I think this.
that's what we're here to discuss. is
No, I know, but
this.
I'm saying, like, my point is, you know, when we're talking about, well, how many, can we save 20 square feet here? I mean, you know, that's almost like, you know, 20 feet, 100 feet is kind of in the grand scheme of things. This building this one right here was 10,500. And in my opinion, for what it does, I mean, it's a nice fully operable station for 10,500 feet. And it's also going to be, my other point is, it's going to be our temporary home for a while, not necessarily for, you know, the admin and the chiefs, you know, but that's what we're going to be using for the most part. And Center Street will just be our storage for the most part, whilst we build this one, because I mean, we haven't got down to this one yet. This is probably where we're going to, you know, make our cuts and whatnot. I'm thinking to a certain extent, and probably not a whole lot in my opinion. Yeah, that's big. I agree. That's why I'm saying. I mean, so again, just focused here on Sandman Road, me personally, I don't see a lot of nickel and dime.
So, again, trying to give the chief direction to speak with Lorera.
Right.
What's our consensus? Leave the crew office and leave the day room kitchen like it is? Or, to Tim's point, add a pantry or something to the kitchen?
Yeah, I would suggest
I
relay,
think the
build
kitchen needs to
different
be
layout.
redone. It's not, I don't
You
think.
I mean, you
can't put
could
a
make
stove up
you could
against the
just put
side of
a
the
big
fridge. You
pantry
know
along
what
the
a
wall,
greasy
right?
mess
Just a
that makes.
24-inch
I
pantry.
know.
I mean, that's, you could put a cabinet in there without changing the size of anything.
Without changing the size of it.
So,
Yeah, but if you want your stove up against the fridge, you know what, that splatters all over the side of this. You guys don't clean it? I would never put my stove next to the
There's
fridge.
less counter space here than there is
There's in a
at the
kitchen.
current station.
I know, but I would think you'd want to put it over on the other
kitchen
side and
is-
move the
is-
TV over, I don't know, I'm just
is
saying.
mostly inadequate and partly ass backwards, in my opinion.
Actually, if that's the laundry room, you want your sinks over here, because your plumbing be in that common wall. Right?
It would be, yeah.
Yeah.
And then you could move your dishwasher and have something
Space in between the.
between the
Yeah.
stove and the, you
I
could
mean, you
put your
could
dishwasher
realistically,
next to
could you
it.
put the refrigerator on this wall over here? And then put a long pantry over here, and then that would give you all that much more
You
counter
could.
space.
Yeah, you could. I would think you'd want your sinks over here and then,
And that's
I think
easy
you need
enough.
more
but, I think
you can
a
never
lot
have
of
enough
stuff you
counter
just-
space.
Yeah.
You have plumbing on that whole wall though, because it's bad, the toilet room, where'd that word come from? Toilet room.
You have plumbing
Trying to stay
everywhere.
gender neutral.
But I would put your sinks over here.
You got plumbing on those in there too. That's why I said it's asked backwards, because
Go with water
it
closet.
would
seems like
flip.
they-
You'd end up with,
Just what I
yeah, you'd have more counter space.
What are you talking
What is
about?
over in
The
UK.
kitchen,
In Asia, same
if you
thing.
flip it,
Yeah.
you got a lot more counter space.
Yeah.
Yeah, here's the
The
other
only
thing.
thing is, just, you
You
want
want
a weight room, you need windows or doors so people can see what's going on.
But I'm not sold on that.
Well, it's,
Yeah,
You have to have
you
it.
need your
That's
stove
the-
on the outside
Can we
wall
talk
for
about the
exhaust, right?
toilet?
Exhaust.
I mean, you could exhaust from anywhere, but it
Yeah.
gets expensive.
Yeah.
On these toilet rooms, doesn't it make sense to have
Straight
the
up.
toilets and the sinks back to back on a common wall, so your plumbing is in that one common wall, instead of
I
running
agree.
plumbing all over the, right?
Yeah, I don't know
Doesn't
why
that
they
make
did it that
In
way.
sense?
this case, Lisa, the showers are on the common wall.
Yeah, but the toilet and the, well, okay, I would think that you've got
you know
plumbing
what, look at
running
this line,
everywhere.
the drain from this, and this are all in line. I don't know why the
Under,
sink isn't
okay.
there either, but.
Everything you get to do down
We
there.
don't have town sewer there, do we?
Nope,
We-
and I
no.
advised them of that last week,
Where?
Sanborn
Sanborn
Road?
Road.
Sewer there?
no sewer.
No sewer up there.
Seriously?
There's no,
The police station isn't
No.
on?
No, they put septic system in, the sewers.
So we have a
at the
septic cost
Walgreens.
also then?
So I told them, because in the contract, it says that they assumed that gas, electric, sewer, and water are at each site. And I says, don't assume what you don't know, because there's no sewer at Sanborn Road.
J. Jill's on isn't on
J.
sewer?
Jill's not on, I don't know if J. Jill's on sewer or not, but it's not up the main street there.
I didn't think they were.
And, but when I talking to him, he said, the sewer is like 1,200 feet away. It's at the corner of, it's where Walgreens is on sewer.
What did the
Really?
kidney
Yeah.
center do? They put a
Ain't that something, huh?
No. Oh, you know what? I bet they go down by Home Depot.
Yes, they do.
I was gonna say, because the kidney center just went in, they didn't put a septic in there.
No,
But they,
it
maybe
goes down the street and cuts through
it cuts
it.
through Home Depot, because that's where the,
does Tanger have sewer?
they
Yes.
Yeah, they're out on Main Street.
They're in the backyard, right?
Right. Yeah, they are. There's gotta be a way to connect.
I'm sure there is. I think with the discussion
Public
with the
bathrooms would be
PD was,
right behind this station,
the
really.
cost to connect was X, and then
Cost of septic system, but our if we have a septic system here, it's certainly more complicated than the police department's septic system, because this stuff here is all bad stuff, runoff, that comes off the fires and things like that.
Well, also the
PFAS, all that stuff, that has to be captured at some point.
So where's the septic on this lot?
They're under the parking lot, for all I know. They haven't told me.
But a septic can't take that kind of stuff, right?
It has to go in a container.
A holding
be-
tank.
Yeah.
Or sewer, if
the
the
facility
sewer can handle it, and that's something that the engineers have to look at.
Okay. Because I would think like the decon
Yeah, so you need
sinks and all
yeah,
that
you'd
stuff.
need two separate systems.
Yeah, so like, the new station that I was involved in, it was hooked up to sewer, and the engineer says that's fine,
You can take it.
it could take it.
That's because it gets treated.
Yes,
Right.
With 5
Yes.
bathrooms,
Right.
So-
Jesus Christ, they probably require it.
Phew, you might spend more
The
money on a
unknown of
septic.
that septic system just emptied my brain right onto the floor.
Yeah,
that-
that's
I mean,
something
a-
to,
3-bedroom residential septic is, I almost said it on word, is a lot of money right now.
it is.
I'm
Stupid
trying to
money
think,
right now.
what it was when I
Crazy.
built my house. It was expensive. Yeah, I
okay,
think
why
it
didn't you throw that
25,000.
wrench in?
Well, no,
Well,
but
that's
that's
a good-
something we need to know, because if we've gotta treat different
40.
water
in the
here
40s.
differently than water from, wastewater from there, that's a big thing.
Right.
And the
Well,
engineers
it's
need
essentially
to
though,
know.
it's only, what is it, that's one, well, it's just basically the decom room needs draining.
Decon
And
and the
the
apparatus,
apparatus bay,
the floor
anyway.
drains in the apparatus room.
Right, well, yeah.
that'll have to go to a
Tank
thing like we have now,
anyway.
right? In
Right.
Mike Street,
Us-
where it goes out back,
If we have sewer, it has to go to a separator.
separator, and then
Yeah.
it goes, yeah, that's how it does it.
And that's not included in their per square foot price either.
I don't know what is or isn't in specifically, but, you know, all these things will come to light, I'm
It
sure.
will, yeah, it's gonna be a really big light, it's gonna hurt your eyes. But I mean, that's a huge concern if you have to, because what are the parameters for it's non-residential, it's not gonna be, this building needs a 3-bedroom septic or a 4-bedroom septic. It's got to be so much containerization, whatever the tank is required, plus X amount of leachate.
Don't they do it by bedrooms?
In residential, yeah,
So 5 bedrooms?
and they do it,
Would
Well,
they be
yeah,
the
but
ones
they would
that
have to
would,
go by
would also look into
toilets here,
the,
I mean, if they go by floor space.
possibility of connecting to the sewer and where it is and how you would get there
I'm
and the
gonna,
cost?
Lorero's gonna do all that stuff. They're
And
gonna
this
figure
is-
out
the
the
space are
options, of,
contaminated
you know,
all the time.
is it
Right,
gonna, it's
somebody-
gonna cost this much to do sewer, they'll figure out how to do it, it's gonna cost this much to do septic, and we'll have a decision at some point,
That's what the PD put in their own septic.
because they were trying to,
$9 a foot.
that don't seem like anywhere near enough.
No, it doesn't,
$9 a foot,
no.
seems like I paid
Yeah,
down that for
I don't even
drainage on
think
a
you
job
can
not
buy the
that long ago.
pipe.
Okay,
So you're trying to summarize where we're at?
yeah,
so I have 3 things on my list. Move the turnout and EMS storage to the other side of the bay. Ask to remove 1 bathroom at the front, see if it's possible. And the kitchen needs work, rearrangement.
well, we discussed
What about
removing
the-
one of the toilets up front,
I have that.
and we discussed the drive-through capabilities, eliminating that, right?
I,
I didn't,
no,
I don't think we agreed on eliminating that.
Okay,
I would leave them drive-through. I do have a comment though, if you can't just move these 2 units over here.
no, they have to be rearranged.
All 4 because of the mezzanine. You want a mezzanine, don't you?
It would, yes, above, so the mezzanine would be smaller then.
Unless you take and move these, swap them around, and move those.
Unless you took everything over here and put it all on this wall,
Right.
moved everything over this way, and then your mezzanines
It's
would
up
be
there.
along this way.
Right,
This is something I'll discuss with them,
right.
You just have a longer, narrow one instead of a.
yeah. Kinda like what's at Park Street, it's a long, narrow one.
so the other thing I had was combine the crew office with the day room, or crew office added to dorms, or leave it.
I vote for leave it.
Derek, where do you want your crew office?
Leave it too.
I can agree with the chief that a lot gets. We're all the computers now are right in with the kitchen area and talking and whatnot. And I could see the crew. I could see the computers going in the kitchen area and day room area.
That's one big area, right? You're talking about the kitchen day room.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Maybe it's because
So
I'm
where's
used to it, I
that-
like it.
I do too.
Today I walked in, we talked about 4 different policies today, while guys were working on that. You know, and it does take them away from their typing, but we start talking about, we talked about our new MDT policy, we talked about our new, and it just was happenstance. I was just going out to get another cup of coffee, and I was like, hey, what about that MDT policy? And we had a discussion. It's nice when everybody's in that same space, instead of one guy over here, one guy over here, one guy over here.
So what becomes of the crew office space, as I see it, if you move that stuff into the kitchen, that's already too small? Where are we gaining space for the kitchen?
Can we,
Taking away a bathroom.
well,
The other
the other
bathroom
thing
up
too
front.
is if you take this out, right? And put it over here, next to you could kind of combine it with the day room and slide the toilets over here possibly, right? If I look at that area, that's what, 194 square feet? Yeah, if you could get rid of a bathroom, that's even better, but you move this space over next to the day room. And then you slide your closet and your dorm rooms down, and you put your toilets over here somewhere.
But I would think we'd want to get rid of one of these, I don't know, so you'd really want to get rid of both, or one of your, bathrooms
No,
or
I
the
think she's-
shower.
Okay.
Yeah,
You know what I'm
All right,
saying?
yeah.
Because that's for, these bathrooms right here, these 2 are really for the crew. And that makes sense, you know, if you've got 4
If
guys,
they have
the 2 showers, right?
Okay, so
Well,
yeah,
if
you
did-
can get
if
rid of one of these,
If you
but
did
if you
something
can
really
move
drastic,
this.
like got rid of one of those 2 bathrooms, and you move the IT closet over to where that is, next to the mechanical room, you'd eliminate that whole front space, you can move everything down, put the bathrooms over where those last dorm rooms were, and free up that whole space for that day room. Something like that.
Yeah, so you could add that desk space right here, right? Is that what you're saying? Shift this wall and add desk space.
But really, what we discuss here is irrelevant, right? If we tell them we wanna move that crew office to the day room, let them do all the shuffling.
Yeah,
Right,
that's,
right.
they will.
Right.
I'm just
Okay.
gonna say, combine the crew office into the day room, make it work.
Yeah,
If you can get rid
Well,
of
you
it.
And
should
if you
them
get rid of
And
one-
lose
Lose
one
the
of these
toilet.
bathrooms.
Yeah.
And,
If possible, right?
Yeah.
Because
right, and could they move that whole day room up to the front of the building, so if somebody does show up, that's where all your guys are congregated anyway.
yeah, but your grill is out there.
And you're saying that the code says it, the number of bathrooms has to include the square footage on the garage floor?
I would
That's what
verify
we-
that.
That's
We just
seems-
asked that
We
question.
didn't
We
ask
just
that
asked, and he
specifically,
said it was specifically on the square footage of the
square
building.
footage
Yeah,
of the
that
building.
just seems odd that would be a requirement for, I mean, because you know nothing, I mean, that is, it's just, it's not, I mean, every other thing in the world is based on living space, not a garage.
is there anything else on this that raises questions for you guys?
So, explain the wellness room to me, 'cause I'm just not there.
Workout room.
So the wellness room means, actually, the wellness room and the kitchen are what I care about. You could delete this whole
Everything
building.
else.
Everything else. You could get rid of, we would sleep in cardboard boxes. In my opinion, the wellness room and the day room and the kitchen are the 3 most important rooms in this entire building. And the reason is because Derek was a prime example of it on Chestnut Street. These guys are asked at midnight to get out of bed and go work harder than and most people have ever worked in their entire life. And the way physically, Derek and his crew went through 4 bottles. And I think you were on the fire department.
4?
They went
Yes.
through 4 SCBA bottles at that fire. That was a stubborn fire. They came.
I thought 2 was one.
2 is usually.
You go to rehab, and then once you're cleared. Those guys worked, and it wasn't just his crew. All the other crews did too. But his crew went through 4 bottles of that fire. To ask somebody to do the amount of physical labor and not give them a place to work out just doesn't, these guys need to be physically fit. These guys need to be able to go from 0 to 110 immediately. And the way to do that is to exercise and work out. Now you go to firehouses across just New Hampshire, but across the country. And I feel like there's 2 types of firehouses. You go to a firehouse and there's guys working out, there's guys in good shape, there's guys eating healthy. You go to another firehouse and there's gentlemen whose belts don't fit and their buttons are popping out. And I think you'll find the biggest difference between the 2 is administration's willingness to let them work out and then giving a space to work out. I think firefighters want to work out and they just need that place to be able to exercise, and we need to give that to them because what we're asking them to do physically is beyond what most people are capable of doing.
So,
It's an emotional let out too.
I was gonna say, don't you
Yeah.
guys use a little stress relief?
Oh yeah.
I think it's, I know, and it's one of those rooms that it's like, huh,
what makes a difference where it is?
oh, I don't care where it is.
No, where it is,
I mean,
beyond the
whether
apparatus
it's,
floor.
whether it's in the station or whether it's at the gym.
Well, I want to be able to do it on duty. So usually between 4 or 5. So when I'm done working at 4, I go down and I work out. And most of the time, 4:30, they're done with their work. They come down and work out, and then they'll eat dinner afterwards. It's just something they do every time they're at work.
Do they do it off work too?
Some guys do.
If I'm on my days off? do I do
They
that?
can come in. Call guys can come in.
No,
Yeah,
without that, they go somewhere,
yeah, I'm sure they do. Yeah,
gym membership or whatever it is.
Yeah.
I go to the
Right.
fire station.
yeah. I come here, but
If you have a decent place to work out, I'm sure they'd go there. And my thing is, it's almost like when you look at the FFA, or the FAA, not FFA, yeah, we look at the farmers. But you know what, but I mean, they have, I mean, while they're on the job, I mean, they have stress relief rooms, quiet rooms with recliners and stuff, they do that, not that I'm saying, these guys need, they don't want, they probably need the opposite.
It's the opposite.
But you know what, having a guy, you come in here, you decon, you might wanna go pump some iron to get rid of some of the shit that's going on in your head. You know, because these guys see a lot of crazy stuff that we don't see.
Oh, I get it.
So, I mean, I understand the whole working out, staying healthy and stuff, but I look at it totally from a mental wellness room, if you will. And that doesn't make sense being at a gym, because if you're on shift and you just come off a call, you're still on shift waiting for the next call. So there's this great benefit in that, in my opinion.
There's not
Because
a
it's the
fire
nature of the
station built in
business.
this country today that doesn't have a fitness room in it. Not a single one.
If we're gonna build it, let's build it right.
That's not, I mean,
Okay. Any other comments on Park Street? Or on Sanborn Road? Sorry.
All right, so let me just be clear, so when I talk to these
Before we go,
guys.
why don't we ask the chief what they think of this?
Let's summarize
Let me
first.
summarize
and then we'll do
first.
that, okay?
Move the turnout and EMS storage to the other side of the bay, and maybe they have to move this stuff too. But we'll let them figure that out. Ask if we can get rid of one of these bathrooms at the front. Does the garage floor space count towards the space, the total space of the building? Is that why that's there? Is there a way around that? Is the authority having jurisdiction? Can they alleviate?
400 square feet out of the building to eliminate a bathroom, right?
Yeah.
What is,
Yeah.
How many square feet?
Yeah, what is the number?
what, right, what,
Yeah.
what's the magic number, right?
What's the magic number?
Yeah.
Rearrange the kitchen maybe so that that there's some separation, maybe a pantry space rather than what's kind of like here. And then combine the crew office with the day room and rearrange things so that it fits appropriately. Those are the things I have for Sanborn Road. Is there anything else that anybody?
That
Carl?
sounds
That's what's
like
on
what
my
we talked
list.
about.
All right. Okay, now you had a question.
What do you guys think of this plan as it sits?
With these adjustments, I think it's a good plan.
Are those the same adjustments you would have made if we said nothing?
Yes, talking to the guys, I knew these were gonna have to move anyways, and you'll see it in the other fire station too. There's more things in the other fire station that need to be done, but, yeah.
So,
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a big station guy. I work out of a cardboard box, and I'd be happy as long as I have a gym, you know. And but I mean, I want, you know, I'm looking at the two stations. I have to for myself. I want to get this done, and I want to make sure this is something that the towns are going to be able to swallow. And I just get a little nervous, but I think it's a good plan. I think it's a good substation. We have to remember, this Sanborn Road is a substation, even if we have 4 guys at it, which I think would be great. I mean, the plan right now is 4 and 2. If we do go to 8, we need to be able to, but this is still a substation. That's what Sanborn Road is, it's a substation. It's not for...
any station that doesn't have administration is a substation.
Yes, yeah. And so the call guys aren't gonna be coming to the station, the administration's not gonna be coming to the station. I mean, they'll come, but it's not gonna be their regular.
And there, is this,
Don't ask me, Mike.
do what we want to do? And the way we
If
wanna
you
do
guys
it?
are in favor of this, sure. I could see places that could be cut, but if you guys are in favor of this, yeah.
See, the real problem we have is us 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people, we don't use this. We don't use it. It's not,
I'm so used to being in a small area, so that's why I could say I could cut so much out of this. Like, we operate in a very small fire station, right?
you do.
And I'm looking for the next, I'm going to be here for another 15, 20 years. I'm not looking 50 years down the road. Sorry. Like,
Yeah.
I could see us cut
Nobody's here in 50
out. Right,
years.
exactly. Nobody is. I could see us
One of
cut a lot of
the,
things out.
major drawbacks to wanting to just cut is that there are some code, some statutory requirements that we just can't cut. So, as much as we'd like to. But, you know, to Kevin's point, is there anything there that you would do differently with the discussion we've had?
I mean, I think we should. No, because we don't know cost yet. We don't know cost per square foot. If you're asking, if we have a problem with cost per square foot, then yes, then I would cut things.
Then you
And I
would.
would tell you what I would cut.
There is
There's
an
going to
issue
be.
with cost
Right.
per
There's going
square
to be.
foot.
So I think
So,
that's for another meeting, though.
He's got lots of things crossed out.
so one of the things I did the other day, as I went and measured all the square footage of shelving space that we have in the 2 fire stations. Take again at how much stuff we have on shelves. Square footage of
That
shelf.
would it be on shelves in any building?
And not counting the shed behind
No,
Park
but
Street.
with all that stuff that's that you have on a shelf right now, wherever
Yep.
it is,
Yep.
except the shed.
And I didn't.
Is it on a shelf in this building, or these 2 buildings?
I didn't measure it out yet, but I didn't measure the shelving area in here, but,
You say this, there'd be a place for it, is that what you mean?
Is
Yeah.
Then we
everything
don't have a
that-
place for
Is
it
everything
now.
that's on a shelf right now, is that going on a shelf in these buildings?
Probably.
Or is it going in a cabinet, or is it going,
well, a lot of it's on the shelves now, and I would say
Okay.
that would probably stay on shelves.
Majority of it will stay on
It's-
the
it's-
shelves.
It's over 1,500 square feet
1,500 square feet of
of
shelf?
shelf.
Yeah, this whole wall.
Put it on the dumpster.
Yeah, some of it probably,
You said that out loud, you
That's
know.
right.
Half of it's air conditioners.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we're gonna have,
Yeah, yeah,
we're
the
gonna save
lot-
room, just not have an air
Well,
conditioner.
yeah, but
before
I mean, that's the
another-
thing,
yeah.
I mean, is it stuff that you're gonna need in new buildings? You know, that's a good point.
I mean, if
say-
you're gonna have an
there
EMS
is-
room, a lot of the stuff's gonna be able to go in that EMS room.
Yeah.
There's gonna be like the shop and repair. That's gonna be enough. Like, there's gonna be storage in that.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
There's gonna
Yeah.
be storage in the storage.
So-
There's gonna be storage above the mezzanine.
Above and the
it's just
Right.
like, it was more than I thought there was. And I didn't count any of the administrative space when I started measuring. It was just
How
stuff.
many square feet did you say?
1,500.
1,500, more than 1,500.
It's like when you move, you just never realize you had all that
Don't
stuff.
exclude us, where we going?
Well, another task might be is to go around and see how much square footage of stuff that you won't need.
Oh, somebody fell down. Somebody fell down.
I felt that. I got it on video too, you ought to see it.
So, all right, so that's Sanborn Road.
Okay, next question is, it's 7 o'clock. Do you wanna tackle Park Street tonight, or do you wanna save that for our next meeting? We've got an hour and a half in what we just discussed.
And this one's gonna be bigger. I
Yeah.
think Park Street's gonna be bigger. I mean, I really, I can't really go much beyond 7:30 tonight.
Me too.
I got the ones done, the scouts, and she's done at 7:30, so. Well, 8 o'clock.
When is our next meeting?
2 weeks.
The next, so,
It should be in 2 weeks from tonight.
we've
Thank-
been
Oh,
doing
what's today? Today's
the
25th.
24th.
So,
We've been doing, Chief, wait a sec.
yeah, hold on a second, yeah.
We've been doing second and fourth Mondays.
Yeah,
I can no longer do the second Monday. So, can we do the first and fourth?
I don't remember the who, what, why, where, how, but there was a reason the first Monday, we didn't end up on the first Monday.
I
Does
don't know,
anybody recall
maybe the
what that
room
was?
is being used? I don't know.
we could, it's not like we can't meet in other places if you have to. But I'm okay with that. He's
You
thinking
said
of
first
changing
and
from
third?
the second and
First and
fourth
fourth.
to the first and the fourth.
First and the fourth.
Monday.
I can't make the first, but
Because
that's,
you have training.
I'm training the first and the third Mondays.
Okay, then,
That might have been.
I mean, I'll be here, but I'll
So,
be
you know what I
at
mean, if we did first and
But-
fourth,
but-
it'd make 50% of them.
Yeah.
Is that,
from
is
my
that,
perspective,
Yeah.
you're too important not.
Right. I
well, and
couldn't
does
agree
that, does
more.
that tie up Derek and,
I can be here whenever you want.
Sounds like me. Said it, I'll be there.
I can't miss I can't miss
No.
call company training.
No.
It's too important.
Lisa, are you good with the
Well,
first
when
and
we
the
have a
fourth?
call company member on the
I
committee.
am, but I would like him to be our meeting.
So can it be 2 weeks in a row?
It could be whatever you guys want, I just can't do the second Monday.
Well, we can replace you.
And that's another option.
I mean, I'm pretty good. I mean, there are some Mondays that I will not be able to.
Can we do the first Tuesday? I mean, I hate that. Or you like it Mondays? Or the first Tuesday, probably selectmen's meeting.
Yeah, that ain't me anymore, but. I'm
First
disconnected from
Tuesday
that.
is fine with me.
So what about third and fourth?
Third's call company. First and third are call company training.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
How about a different day of the month? I mean, the week?
Yeah, that's
That's why I said Tuesday.
Tuesday, the first Tuesday is what you're saying?
Yeah, yeah, that's
Because the second Tuesday is the commissioner's
commissioners
meeting.
meeting.
Can we go to Wednesdays?
Wednesday.
No.
No?
No,
Oh, sure.
I know what
Yeah.
that's for.
I'll do Thursday, Friday,
We
Saturday,
can replace
Sunday.
you too.
Wednesday's the only day that.
We can do next Monday's the 31st.
So never, the second never works for you now?
Correct.
That's out, okay. So that's a no.
And the first and the third, no.
And Wednesday never works? You swing that thing that much, huh?
Yeah, Wednesdays.
But
That keeps me sane,
Tuesdays
Kevin.
do?
Oh,
That's the
But
only
Tu-
thing.
Do Tuesdays
Tuesday
work?
other than the second Tuesday.
For the first and the third Tuesday?
That would work.
I will never make the third Tuesdays.
What about Thursdays?
Thursdays are hard
Well,
too.
what about the second and the fourth Tuesday?
The second and the fourth Tuesday.
Well, the second Tuesday
Is
is
commissioners.
commissioners.
Oh,
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Oh.
the second Tuesday's bad for me too.
oh, we could
Okay, I
do,
get it.
one second, don't go too crazy here. What it's the second Monday?
Second Monday. of
So
the
we
month.
can
always
still
best for
do
me.
the fourth Monday and maybe the first Tuesday and the third Monday or whatever that turned out to be, fourth Monday.
Well,
We can
it's-
have Kathy keep it straight for us.
Is everyone good still with the fourth Monday?
You know,
The
So
fourth,
let's pencil the fourth Monday in.
So next week,
Next week's the 5th Monday.
fifth Monday, perfect.
And then let's pick another day of the week or whatever we have to do for the second meeting a month.
so that'll be 2 meetings from now,
Uh,
because we're gonna do the fourth.
And
No,
then the
one,
28th.
there should be one before
28th,
that.
so we
They
want
move
to
it
do,
for me, I'm not
and
gonna
then,
even be here.
yeah,
I'll be on
that would
vacation.
be the second one.
Do you
So the first meeting of the month, we could do the first or third Tuesday? No, you said Tuesdays were no good.
well, the third Tuesday.
Third
we
Tuesday.
could do the first Tuesday.
First
First
Tuesday works?
Tuesday? Is that okay with everyone?
Sure.
First Tuesday I can do.
First Tuesday and last Monday,
So next week on the first,
yes.
I will not be here, but I will be here other times. I will discuss what
Yeah,
my things with the deputy and
Okay.
hear the chief, and they
So
can.
that's just a random,
I'm being.
random unavailability.
I'm going to Moosehead next week, so.
It's still winter up there.
Yeah.
Still winter out here.
Yeah.
No kidding.
okay, so our next meeting is next Tuesday at 5:30. The following meeting is April 28th, which is the Monday.
I won't be here, Paul, but that's just a one-off thing, Joe.
Okay. The next meeting after that is May 6th. And the next meeting after that is May 26th, which is Memorial Day.
Push it to 27.
So can we
Push
move
it
that one to
27.
Tuesday?
that one,
I said our next meeting, you said our next meeting's April
April
1st.
first.
April 1st, yes.
Fools together, okay.
April 1st, April 28th, May 6th, and then the 26th is the holiday.
Let's do it on the 27th.
The 27th is a Tuesday,
It's the fourth
That's the 4th.
Tuesday.
fourth Tuesday.
Is that okay?
Is that okay?
Sounds good.
Right, so
Lisa.
that day, we're just gonna move it from.
What's
Is
that?
the 27th okay?
For May, you're saying?
May 27th?
Yes.
Right, so we're gonna do, May 6th and May 27th.
Correct. Okay. And I hope Lauren got that.
I wrote it down.
Welcome, Lauren, by
Hey,
the
yeah.
way. Thank
She
you
does a
for,
great job.
See how that,
thank
Of
you
course, she's
for,
gonna learn from everybody's voice.
Yes, yeah.
see how good she is at this, what did my uncle call it? Ciphering, you gotta cipher it, decipher.
okay, everyone's square on the next meetings, and Kathy will announce those and determine location. Is that correct, Chief?
Yes.
We'll need some minutes, I think, right?
Yes, and we need updates on our minutes. Okay, I'll accept the motion to adjourn if everyone is all set.
So moved. Dennis moves to adjourn.
I second
And
it.
Tim seconds.
Okay, Tim seconds. All those in favor?
Aye.
7:07, Lauren, thank you.
Are you a military
What
veteran?
happened at district meeting?
I was gonna invite you to our coffee and donuts. You can always.
They did not
If you're
free.
appropriate any money
Yeah, you
towards
can.
the fire
He always
station.
talks about it.
$100,000
You know what, you're
we put in
invited.
every year.
You know what, we ain't
They
gonna,
cut that out.
hopefully
And
nobody
the
will. So where did you
110
serve?
11,000
He
for
always talks about it.
engineering and design.